guys. As the Africans, we always talk about this. We always hear about the black tax issue, and it has been an issue that each and every generation actually before us always talk about. But before, it was not really a problem until recently when we actually go into this economic development and everything that has to be diluted from our own foundations of African culture. So today, in this episode of Baobab Chats, we are here to speak about black text and its effects, and to really uh, dissect whatever that we have to dissect as this generation to see what we can do, whether it's actually beneficial or whether it actually is something that actually is a burden to us. Okay, so guys, welcome to the platform, and I can see all you're all in great mood. Okay, today I'm facilitating and I'm happy.
Hello, guys.
Yeah. So you can do a brief introduction, and then I'm going to. But when you're doing the introduction, can you? I'll just pose a question for a start to say, okay, what really do you understand by the word black text? I mean, you've heard about this. Your own understanding about black text. What do you think about this? I can start with you, Lennon.
Okay, thank you so much for your bet. Good evening, everyone. My understanding is when it comes to black text is when, let's say, for example, I grew up being raised by a parent, a guardian, and I go to school, I go study at the university. When I'm done, I'm working. I should be able to also give back to the people that who raised me, who looked after me when I was studying. That's my understanding when it comes to black text.
Okay. So, and Paul, what is your understanding about black text?
Like always, it's always a pleasure to be on the platform. I think today I need some re-education because from what Mr. Gusha just said, now I need a re-education on this whole situation. But yeah, basically, like the press said, black text. I think it's peculiar to black people. I stand to be corrected as well on that. And somehow it has to do with texting, which involves money and yeah, I think it's something that I really need a re-education on today.
Okay. So there is.
I
Okay, go on, Stan, go on.
yeah, no, I wanted to say actually, in partly agreeing and partly disagreeing that I actually coined the term black text as it's a millennials way of trying to demean our African systems and values. To call something a text is a way of giving a negative connotation to us helping each other and assisting each other in our, as per our usual cultural values. So it's interesting because many people refer to as black text, and I think we have all gotten to that use of the term, but it's not necessarily the right term. I would believe that we need to use for that.
Okay. So if I come back to you again, what would be the right term to use?
No,
Invoicing.
it's no. I think for personally for me, I think that look, whether the semantics is something else. I would just say it's Ubuntu. It's a person is a person because I am because we are. So the reason why when we do it rightfully so, a lot of us we grow up by being helped and assisted by others, and when it's only the right thing for us actually when we do better that we do the same to those who come after us, and to our families as well that would have sacrificed a lot for us to get to wherever we are. But now we are getting this thing whereby we get better and then we start coining such kind of terms to our families and start calling them tax men or tax women. You know, it helps.
Okay, so I think now from where you're standing, Stanley. I mean, I agree with you from an African perspective. This is really good, but what is it that people now, like what you mentioned, that It's that people. Do you think that the millenniums are trying to run away from their responsibility, or by terming it black text, or it is the effect that it has on people for it to actually become a negative thing? I don't know if or do you want me to repeat again? Because from what you're saying,
No,
it's a
I
really good
get you.
thing, but it has an effect that it was termed something bad.
Yeah, no, look, I don't know. The other guys can jump in, but from my perspective, it's like us growing up, we knew that you do dishes, you clean the house, you mop the floor and everything. Then you've got a new generation that you tell me that you're abusing me as a child, I must be playing. It's almost kind of like the same thing where, you know, as times are changing, people are getting a different interpretation of these things, because now we say I also need to buy my own house, I need to take care of my own family. Why must I still be spending so much money on the family? So it's becoming a negative thing, and in the sense of how we are viewing it.
Okay, so Paul,
Well,
I mean, yes, go again. Go ahead.
yeah, for me, I think it all comes down to the kind of family structure you're coming from.
Okay.
If you are coming from a very structural, structured family, like that has got different ties, you have your siblings and your extended family members, your cousins, your uncles, and somehow, if these guys play their part in you becoming who you are, like a really positive, strong part in you becoming who you become, there's this view that at least you have to show some level of appreciation. How much appreciation has to be shown is not really specific, but there has to be a hand that goes back to the pot you were taking from, so that whoever is still stuck there can still also take from the same pot and move forward. In that sense, in that light, and black text can be something positive. Unfortunately, we are also sitting, like Stan is saying, with situations where it is imposed on you, and you are not expecting that someone is expecting you to appreciate what they did, because in your view, there isn't much they did anyway. So you'll be thinking maybe just a cook will be fine. And
Yeah. I just want to jump in there and kind of agree with what Sten just said now. You know, what the parents say, what the parents did when you were growing up, especially when you are, for example, a firstborn in the family, they will tell you that, okay, we have managed to take you to school, you are done. You've got five siblings behind you, and they will tell you, we have done our part to raise you and to make, now you're going to work. This is your responsibility to show appreciation to the family. And I feel that it's kind of not fair, because you can't do a job and then leave it halfway. That's exactly why it's so stressing now to the youngsters that are coming up now. Because, for example, now I've got a family, like Sten said, I've got a family that I have. I need also to plan the future for them. And now I've still got my siblings, my five siblings that are still going to school. And I'm expected to take these guys to school, look after my parents, look after my parents' parents, look after my aunties, because they all played a role in my entire educational life. But now, just because I'm working, so that's why you see, even now as we speak, most of us youngsters, we are in so much debt, because we are actually scared to tell our parents, okay, I can't do this. Now you end up go getting a loan, having a credit card, that just to support these guys, paying fees, all these things. So it's kind of stressing for the youngsters that are coming up now.
Okay, I hear you guys. Okay, so I want to reiterate this. I think from what you're saying, this thing is a good thing, but there are words that I picked up. It's imposed on you. No,
Yeah.
I'm not so sure before it was imposed or not. And you also said if it's actually rightfully, if it's done rightfully. So there is an element that they are not doing it right. That's why it became black text. No, I do not know. Maybe. But I mean, you cannot, I would actually say, or I would people might actually, some people would agree to me with me on this part that we cannot at any given time try to carry others when you are trying to swim. You're already trying to swim, probably you just graduated, and you already have a lot of people that you're supposed to take care of. I mean, I would argue to say this is one of the effects of this. I mean, Stanley, you said if this is rightfully done, but you just graduated today,
Yeah.
and tomorrow you have this responsibility. How do you see this?
Yeah. So look, I think you hit the, you just hit the nail. The point is where our challenge is coming in
Mhm.
is just like a lot of our African traditions. The other day we were talking about lobola and how people were talking about how lobola has become negative and things like that. They have now become investment plans where,
Okay.
whilst people are helping you, there is that feeling that we are investing in you. So the day you start working, or the day we think that you are better, now it becomes incumbent on you. It becomes a created obligation that you now need to do all these things. And at the same time, you are trying to set yourself up so that you can be in a better place. So,
Mhm.
and I think that's where the connotation of it becoming tax comes in, because now there's an obligation being created. I've heard of certain people in certain families where the moment they graduate, they are told, these are your two that are now your responsibility. You understand?
Yes.
And
Yes.
the poor guy or the poor girl is just earning, so much little money, and they
Yeah,
are
probably
given
they're
so
doing
much
internship.
responsibility. At the times they don't even have a job. Yeah,
Yeah.
and maybe they're on an internship or a graduate internship or something like that, and that's
Yeah.
where it becomes negative. And I think this is the part maybe where we need to look at the issue of saying, really, what's the limit here? At what point do we become a limit? And why it also becomes coined as black tax is in the sense that, like, most of us in the different employment areas, you find
Mhm.
you're earning the same amount of money, but usually the person of color or the black person, or coming from, this kind of backgrounds, they just look so, miserable, and like everyone else is earning 10 times than them. But it's because whatever they're getting is being split into 10 different households.
Yes, 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 yes. No, no, this is true. I mean, Paul, what do you say about this?
That was a mouthful from Stan, and I'm still trying to just digest just a couple of terms you threw in there. But anyway, I also think I've got a question and a contribution at the same time. And my question is it not the government's responsibility to look at these social certifications and try and ameliorate the gaps that exist between individuals and their families? To say, I don't think it's fair on an individual as a citizen of a country or as a citizen of a place to carry the responsibility that the government could shoulder in and try and do something about. We cannot hide away from our history. We cannot hide away from our past. It carries enough weight to then try and just create a humbug on an individual's economic life. What Sense says is very fortunate for people who get that responsibility when they're doing internships. I've known people who, after you fail your grade 12, still that responsibility of caring too is leveled on you. They just say, you're not going to school now. Go out and hustle and make $1 out of 15 cents and still take care of someone. And I think, in my own personal perspective, if it's your parents' responsibility to ensure your economic capabilities as you go as an adult. It's a parent's responsibility to stabilize your economic future. In our black communities, unfortunately, trust
But
funds.
unfortunately, our parents. But unfortunately, I wanted to say, but I get what you're saying, Paul. But unfortunately,
uh,
in most cases, the parents, they actually would have done the best they could.
yeah. But I mean, my point was that if the parents then are out of the picture for one reason or the other, maybe they are not able to take you as far as they should, or they're not there. I've seen in African countries, most people get orphaned at quite an early age. Then if another part of the family or a family member, an uncle and aunt, takes you in, you must understand that it was not their obligation to have you as part of the family. It was your family's, your parents' responsibility. Now, if another person takes you in, I feel like there has to be that obligation from your part to pay them back in a way. Because look at it this way. Personally, I grew up with my uncles, and they had their own kids and their own family to take care of. And I feel like their kids didn't live the best lives they could because I was an extra mouth to feed and an extra body to clothe. You understand? So then that responsibility has to come from me to think maturely and say, okay, I took a little bit out of these guys' luxury and all that, and then find a way. It might not be financial. It can be showing up at funerals, maybe, or sending happy birthday messages to the uncles. But there has to be a way that we show appreciation for the people who go out of their way to help you out of your situation.
Okay. Sorry, Ebert.
Yeah.
I agree what you're saying, Paul. But all I'm saying, if it's out of you, it's coming from you, I would understand. But if it's imposed, like what Sten said earlier on, I mean, it feels like I mean you are obliged. Okay, obviously there's certain things that happened before that made them take you in, and that was not your choice. It was their choice. They felt okay. Let's take this boy in, or let's take this girl in. Okay, now you're working. It's your responsibility to go to help them out, but it's not for them, like what is happening, that what we have seen in this day and age, that they will tell you, they will call you, Sten or Herbert, you are now overseas, we know you're working, um don't forget that you need to look after us. That, I mean, Paul would agree with me. I mean, we received those certain phone calls like that. You remember, they'll even tell you, remember when your mother was in Johannesburg, went to sell, I looked after you for a week. When your father was not working, my uncle, my brother took you in, all those things. And it kind of, I mean, they want to make you feel guilty of what they did, of which you had no control over. I mean, you hear
That's
people now end up saying, okay, like for me,
that's why I said
yeah, okay, go ahead.
I wanted to say that's why I said it's an investment plan. Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah, you
I
can go ahead.
understand. Yeah. All right. So what I'm saying is, it's not supposed to be an imposed thing on you. It has to come out of my heart that okay, my uncle looked after me, my aunt looked after me, and it's I have to give them something. And when I give them something, it's not a must that I must do it every month, or it has to be a certain amount, or it has to be a certain thing. Because some people will exactly say to you, okay, when I was looking after you, I didn't have a house. Now it's your opportunity to buy. I mean, you have to build a house for me. You have to do this for me to
Yes,
show that I looked after
to
you,
learn.
or to show,
I get you.
you understand.
So
And
yes, so I think the whole thing is what you're saying. It's optional. It needs to come from a person for it to be good, for it
Yes,
to
yes.
be done correctly. I should
Mhm.
show my own form of appreciation based on what I
Yes.
can do, and do what I can. Is this what we, in other words, right? Because the moment
yeah,
that it
I
becomes,
think
yeah, yeah,
I
go ahead.
think it's supposed to be optional like that. Helping each other is supposed to be optional like that. And I would just maybe to just give a different perspective. What
Mhm.
I've also witnessed at times happening is that so you do it optional. So in exactly the example that Lennon was giving. So let's say you do it optional, and after you do it optional, you do it out of the willingness of your heart, and you
Mhm.
are sacrificing. But the challenge that comes in is that at times the people that you are sacrificing to, they actually think you are doing it as a luxury because this is excess.
Okay.
So that creates more and more obligation.
Mhm.
In economics, we have diminishing marginal utility, whereby the
Yeah,
first
yeah.
time you give something or you help with something, people appreciate it a lot, but they already now set a standard. So no, he can do or she can do so much every month, and then the next time, if you do the same thing, so that's where at times now people end up having that huge a load on them, And that's where also the issue of now it becoming an obligation then comes in as well.
Okay. I think I hear you. Okay. So man, we have seen this. We have discussed how things actually being done. Do you think that we can avoid this? I mean, do you think we can?
Before we even think about all this, I'm going to take you on a very quick and funny ride here. I've
Okay.
had a couple of colored friends, and my question has always been, why do you guys cut out your front teeth? And in my pursuit of getting that answer, I've been led in circles and circles. I haven't gotten to the answer. And I fortunately also got a couple of white friends that I spoke to. And I also asked some certain questions that are very uncomfortable. I asked, there is no way as a race that a people can be this efficient and good without having a system that is running. Tell me, what is the secret behind all this whiteness that we talk about in envy?
Mhm.
And the lady was just very open with me, and she says that what we do as families is every person has a role to play in the family. And whether you're old or young, or you're employed or not, or you're running a business, somehow you learn as you grow how to fit in the jigsaw puzzle of the whole system. And it's something that you're communicated with, you're communicated to about, and you grow into. So in that sense, would also maybe coin it white text, being involved in the well-being of the whole family as the whole structure. I think in our blackness, in our black text as we're calling it, there
Mhm.
also has to be that separation that we make, that even though you are contributing to an individual or a family, but if you're going to be part of the whole system, there has to be a contribution that comes from you, whether you're willing or not, for the organism to function properly. You can't have your ear waking up today and saying, I don't want to hear today. If we're going to work as organisms, as families, we have to push that culture that says we are all organisms and organs in the same organism, and someone has a part to play in the future.
Okay. I mean, Lennon, but Paul, before I give it to Lennon, I mean, do you think we can avoid this? We cannot. That, in other words, that's what you mean.
I would encourage it. Personally, I would encourage it. If I were given an option to actually discourage it or encourage it, I would encourage black text. Though there will be certain additions and modifications, of course, but I would definitely go for black text. I'm being in a black text.
I mean, Lennon,
Okay.
what do you think? This guy is encouraging black text. He's encouraging black
Okay.
text now.
Okay, there's different ways in dealing with black text, and I mean, some people some people might encourage it, some people might not. Okay, for me, I will not encourage it. It has to be, it has to be something that comes from you. And I mean, the way, I think, like what Paul said earlier, or that the way it's done, it makes you feel like it makes you feel like you have to do something, and which is not right. And all I want to say is, we cannot. Okay, for example, Ebert, I will tell you, Ebert, I stayed with you for 5 years, and
Mhm.
I was paying rent, and now it's your opportunity to do something for me. I mean, would you take it? Right? Well, you wouldn't. I mean, it feels
Yeah.
like, because I did it out of my own heart.
I want to kindly interrupt there, because
Yeah.
if you
Okay.
look time immemorial, the
Uh,
originator of life himself says, after I've given you some corn to harvest in the field, bring something
uh,
back. God has actually a big basket of returns he's expecting from an individual that he is blessing. I did not choose to be born, I did not choose to be created, but still God
exactly.
says, I'm going to ask you to bring me offerings and tithes and this and this and that. I think at the very least, on a human level, to expect something is just rational.
Okay. I do understand what you're saying. Oh, yes, you expect something. It's just rational, but I mean, it has to be said, but not to be imposed. Just for example, we are encouraged every day at church. I mean, you need to pay tithe, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do this. But it's upon you as a human to think, okay, I can do this. There's certain things that you won't be able to do, because I mean, if you are to do everything that we are told to do, or everything that are imposed on us, I mean, it wouldn't work. It wouldn't work.
So
So
in a
for me, I
nutshell,
would say,
we can
I
actually conclude to say that this thing, it has to be an optional. Uh,
For
Stanley,
me,
you were
it has
saying?
to be an option.
Sorry, I think your mic is
The
muted.
problem that comes in is
Yeah.
that, the problem that comes in is that you would say you can't afford to do something, but we can see that you can afford. I'm saying that's the
Yeah,
context, because you are
Yes.
sending
Yes.
yes.
sending kids to expensive schools. You are paying 10,000 rand or $1,000 a month for school fees, and you tell us that you can't afford to send a kid who needs to be paid 300 rand a term for school fees.
I mean, there's an
That's
interesting
where the
comment
crux
here.
of this comes in.
Oh, yes, I have an interesting comment. God gives you a choice. Black tax is an obligation. I mean, this is. I mean,
let's not quote from Twitter here. So when you quote Twitter scriptures, we're going to all
I
get in
think
trouble here. I
I
actually
think
think people
Shalom just wants to be.
yes. I mean, let's be honest. I was giving an example earlier, and then for example, like you literally know, let's say you've got a sibling, but one of your siblings is not really taking care of their kids very well, and they're not going to school. I mean, what would be, is this a choice or is this an obligation? You have a sibling, for example, and then you really see that this has to be, there needs something that needs to be done here. I mean, what would be the approach to this one?
Oh, okay. Sorry, Stan. I just want to take that one. I don't know as much as I can. So I'll say, okay, if I've got a sibling who's got a child,
Yeah,
if
go
I take
ahead.
that child in, it's from my heart, and then I take that child in, not expecting this child to do something for me tomorrow. So I think that's where the people are getting it wrong, because if I take someone in and expect something to happen, that's why a lot of families are disjointed, because of this that we're talking about. Because I mean, I would say tomorrow I would say no. It wasn't my choice. I mean, you were not. Why, if you didn't take me in, I could have been taken by someone else, and that someone else wouldn't have been asking uh, for me to contribute. So it's, for me, if I take someone in, then it has to be from my heart, and I won't expect anything. So if you take someone, or whatever our parents did to us, or to other cousins who stayed with us, they should not expect something from them. I mean, it's upon them, the person who were looked
Yeah.
after, to
Yeah,
to put some.
Stanley.
I actually wanted to bring in another point, that we also need to separate the discussion, in the sense that, so there's a discussion of, can you guys hear me well?
Yes, yes,
Yes,
yes.
yes.
Okay. So I was saying we need to also separate the discussion when we want to contextualize it as well. So there's the text portion, let's call it text, the obligation portion, at times that comes from pull me up, and then I'll pull you up, right? Where it's, yes, you were assisted, but the family, your family, they are maybe still much behind, where you create even an obligation in your heart,
Mm.
that at least let me give others a fishing rod. That is different from to reap out of their investment, who feel that you are obliged to do something for them. So there are two cases that we also need to look at differently, where just from a humane point of view, even as an individual, you realize that I need to assist my relative, or I need to
Right.
assist a friend, or a neighbor. And, but then there's that one of saying, no, look, the house that we have, we now need to upgrade. When now you are still renting in a small, a room, but some people want to upgrade their house to
Yeah,
a better one. You
yeah.
understand?
Mhm.
That one now is the one that I think, personally, as an individual, I know Shalom or someone was commenting earlier was saying, God, black taxes. That portion, I believe it's a choice. That portion, I believe you can sleep well at night, knowing that it's not like someone is sleeping on the street. It's not like someone, is sleeping on an empty stomach. It's a luxury of someone thinking that I now need to reap the benefits of my investments.
Okay, you have gone a little bit deeper into dividing the black tax part, but I'll come back to that. Paul, what's your take on this? I mean, would you take the kid in and
Well, I think for me, like I've been saying all along, Viva Black Tech.
okay,
I will encourage Black Tech as a socialist. However, we are not living under socialist circumstances. I also take Black Tech as a Christian, and we're also living outside our religious beliefs.
okay,
Just talking about Black Tech from a guy who walks in Twitter streets, I would say this with caution. It's not considered black tax if you're taking care of your siblings. It is not considered black tax if you're taking care of your parents. You just have to grow up and take responsibility and do what you have to do. If it's your brother, your sister, your mom, and your dad, that's the moral code that you owe them at least something, even just saying a story in the house.
All them,
but
all them.
It's just like Kevin Hart saying he's telling jokes when he's talking to his wife or his mom. You're not a comedian when you're talking to your family. And
some
then when you get
with you, but
that's
it's okay.
you're
Some
trying to
people will
explain
not
a
agree
thing like
with
that.
you.
But the
Yes.
way it exists, if it's your family, your immediate family, it's not tax at all. I think it starts taking a different definition as it goes out of your house. Then that could be black tax.
Well, okay. I mean, the parameter of when we say when is black tax or not is really, I mean, maybe is subjective. I can say I don't know. I mean, but I think some people will not agree with you. But anyways, I mean, we have spoken about what we can.
What is your point with black text? Are you texting or are you being texted?
Well, okay, I get that, but maybe sometimes it comes to that, but that's why I said it's a little bit subjective. But some will agree. I mean, it's a normal society. Some will agree, some will not. But, anyways, taking the conversation further, I mean, we have discussed how and maybe probably the parameters and things that you, I mean, so I think for those who like Paul has said that they are for Beaver Blick takes, I think they would not want to see this ending. But I'm sure for those who see this as a negative thing would want to see this ending. And if that opportunity or what can be done or structures or things that we can do to end this, if they are supposed to, if there is anything like that, or what can we really do to make it proper or really work for us? Because I mean, I mean, the more we are, the men we are, the men we should be actually be able to.
Yeah,
Yes, go ahead, Sen.
I personally feel that the I personally feel that the adage that was said by Babu Bantu Olomisa some time ago about rod the fish and give and fishes. I think ultimately that becomes the way we can break the cycle. That where we have to help our people to give them a leg up, we need to focus on giving people a leg up. Like for example, the things we're talking about, going to school, starting businesses, growing talents. You see that you have a cousin, a brother, or whoever who's good at a certain sport. You help them with equipment. You help them with getting them into an academy. Those are the things that I think we need to focus on. Now, the luxuries we need to focus less on. If we know that around our circles we are done with those, with the needs, then we can focus on the wants. That's number one. Then number two, those of us as well who are going through that process, we also need to set ourselves up, and those who come after us, that they will not need to do the same. Let's start real legacies. not just jobs, not just having a qualification which you just go to the grave with, and we remain with the certificates hanging on the walls and say that our uncle was very educated, but he left nothing. So I really think that we need to focus on creating legacies, creating businesses, the right investments, buying assets during our times when we are still able, so that we don't need to impose the same burden on those who will come after us.
Okay. Leon?
Okay. I agree with what Stan is saying. And also, I just want to say, as much as we want to do all these things, creating our legacies, creating an investment, and one question that comes back to mind is, I mean, these parents of ours, I mean, these guardians, I mean, why didn't they do this before? And why should we now be the carriers of all this burden? And why didn't they do it? I mean, it's a question that, I mean, everyone. If I'm doing an investment now, I should be doing it for my children. I should be doing it for myself for the future, but not for the people that looked after me. That is my understanding. That why should I then go back and like starting again instead of starting from where I am going further? Otherwise, I won't go anyway, and it's going to be a lot. I mean, remember the families are different. You have a lot of people around you. As much as you want to create an investment, you don't even have the resources now to put in an investment, or don't have the funds to put into that investment, because there is a lot of burden that you still have. So I feel, like I said earlier on, as much as we want to do all these things, it has to be from the heart and forget about everything else.
Okay.
I think for
B-
me,
b-
I
Before,
also
before you get in, I just want to make a statement. You all have said all this, but I have a statement that I want to make and an observation that I would actually want to make. Is it sometimes, do you think that it is about also have to do with poor family planning, whereby mostly the people that would need this kind of hand are people with a lot of kids sometimes, and they continue to have a lot. This is a different conversation, but I'm just saying at the back of your mind, maybe I'm wrong, but usually maybe not. But to bring this, Paul, you can go ahead. I mean,
you are definitely stepping on some lion's tails when you talk about family planning and poverty.
yes,
It's
yes,
something that has been going on.
yeah, of
Uh,
course, I guess.
yeah, but it seems it adds up to what you're saying as well. It's a lot of factors that we have to look into. I raised an issue earlier on when we started the show, that the government has a role to play in how this all passes out, and the responsibility that you then carry as an individual. I've seen in certain countries they've got rebates and even tax rebates on how an individual is contributing to the family.
Okay, I think
Yeah,
Paul is Paul's connection has gone
yeah.
down.
Okay.
Yeah, okay,
I think I'll just carry on from what Paul said. I
yeah,
remember there was a time that we had a conversation. I think it was on marriage. There's a
yeah,
lady from PE, an accountant. She was talking about black tax, and she said even when she gets married, her
mhm,
mother, her parents
yeah.
told her that you continue to look after us. You don't have a choice there. You continue to look after us until maybe they die, or until they feel like, okay, now it's the end.
Now we're
Because
done.
now, yeah, for example, now you want to go 50 with your wife, you want to plan your things, but
Mhm.
there is that element of the parents, there's that element of the immediate family that says, as much as you can get married and want to do your thing,
Yeah.
remember us, and you must also keep on doing the same to us, because we did this for you. And I mean,
Yes.
it's something it's like something that keeps on haunting us. I mean, as black people,
It's
as
like
human beings. Exactly. I mean, why should we keep on? I think they, like I said earlier on, our parents should have done something that we could have been stepping on some on a different level, so that we could have been far much better than what we are now. But
Yeah.
now, because they didn't do that, I don't know if it was lack of planning, or like you said earlier on, a lot of children.
Before Paul actually dropped off, he was making a point. Paul, you can continue with your point.
Like Lennon just to pick my brains and go whatever. Talk about the complexities that come with black tech marriage, because
Yes.
what I might consider as luxury, my spouse doesn't consider as luxury. She was doing that for her family,
Yes.
and
Mm.
them it was their life. She takes her mom to the
Yes.
spa and to the salon every month,
Yes.
and then when you come in, you're trying to solve this situation of black tax, and you're saying this is a luxury. This is not something that really needs to be done monthly.
Yes.
And also,
Yes.
I still insist that the government has a role to play in this. Honestly speaking, our communities are very poor, and our people are coming from abject poverty. It's not something that families can just end by clicking fingers. There has to be that line, that chain of pulling each other up. We need a generation or 10 generations. I was actually reading an article about some rich families in the US. I think it's the Rockefellers or the Rothschilds. And it was said that they have a succession plan for the next 100 years, which means they know who to push forward. They are having a collective effort of saying this one can't fail for us because he's part of the plan. Well, our problem is we don't have a plan, and it's not necessarily money that we need, just a collective effort of looking in the same direction and pulling and saying, in 2050, as a family, we need to be here. Personally, I think 2 years ago, I bought myself a nice diary and I wrote my family plan for the next 30 years, my vision 2050, for me and the kids I have around me and the kids that they'll have around them. And it might not be as clear as it should be. And I might not have as much money as I should have, but just maybe conversing in the future with them that this is where we're trying to pull towards. Here's a way of us pulling in one direction. Now, when one of them matures to a certain point, if they buy into the vision, making a contribution will not be as hard. What makes it hard for people to contribute is they don't know where the money is going, not even money. They don't know the vision of the effort they're trying to put in. But if the
Okay.
vision is
I
then
get you there, Paul. I like what you just said. You actually said you wrote something down, but if not, this is not too personal. I mean, you have the right not to answer. I'm saying, like, with this vision, does it also include your retirement plan so that you don't have this black text on them? Or
well, in the written down vision, definitely no. There's no retirement plan.
yeah,
There's investment.
but you have this in your head that your kids will not do this as well. Will not have this platform to talk about this.
No perspective as a dad.
Okay.
I don't want my kids to do anything for me, for my well-being.
Yes.
I want them to buy me a I can afford already, and they know I like, and I can buy to them. I'm just not wearing it because I don't wear it. I don't expect myself to be a burden to my kids. That is an unethical and ungodly. You have to work so much so hard that you don't have to depend on your kids.
Yes. Okay.
But what we're an issue where there's that's why I said an extended family member. Then you are now beginning to pluck out of your own and giving out. But if it comes to the family, as a father or a mom, it is your responsibility to know that your family is secure financially, that you won't need to depend on them.
Yes, okay, I get that part. I mean, if everybody would have this mentality, I think we're not going to have this black text. But I like your idea. Lennon, do you have any additions to this, or I can?
I like what Paul said. I mean, thank you so much. I was gonna also say the same. I mean, you picked my brains as well. We also, me and my wife as well, we also did the same. Where we sat down and we said, okay, we don't want our children to go the same way like what we are doing. I mean, in looking after cousins, siblings, and other people. Let's do a plan. I mean, it's something that needs to be planned so that tomorrow when they do something, they can buy me something that I like what Paul said, and they're not obliged to do it. That's why we had to set up something that will help them and enhance them from when they finish their school and then they start doing their own thing. They won't be obliged to look after us because we had already planned something that will take them to the future, and that will they will start on a certain step, not from the grave. They will start on a certain step and then they move on.
Yes. So I think where we are starting from also as Africans, this is what I'm getting from you guys, that where we are starting off from as well is actually also important. Because like I said in the other statement, that it's very difficult to try to carry the whole load when you're already trying to swim, because you are going to drown for sure. And I mean, you cannot give what you do not have. And this is many a times that constitutes to people being in debt and actually have the vicious cycle. I mean, after we have identified all these kind of things, all problems, pros and cons and everything, what could be your message to our fellow Africans? I mean, what could you say to a fellow dad or any other African that actually is living right now to curb this or to do this right?
Okay.
For lack of a say, a Negro must work. A black man must work.
Okay.
You must wake up, grind, gather all you can gather. At the end of the day, there are other factors that can come into play that you're not in control of. But if there's one thing that you are in control of, is waking up to work. Wake up, work, invest wisely. If you don't have any investment knowledge, ask. Go on Twitter, just post a tweet there. You get proper responses. Go on Facebook, come on Baobab Chats, send a text on our page. We'll come up with intelligent proposals for you. If you don't know, there's so much information out there. A man must work for his family to avoid calling it tax, so that you all know, man, I'm leading a train of families that come after me.
Yes,
come on, don't preach.
Yes, we actually have to stop here. But I like what you said. I think if everybody has that perspective, we will not have this conversation. But I agree with you. Let's go.
Okay, thank you so much, Ebed. I would also share this the same sentiment. A person must work, and when you work, you must plan your future right, and you must know. A person should know where they are going. I mean, you can't just do something and you just do without planning. A person must plan. A person must work. A person must ask. A person must look for things to do. I mean, it's like these days we are living. It's not only about going to work that brings money. Entrepreneurship. I mean, people. There's a lot of things that needs to be done. I mean, I always teach my youth, my fellow youth, my young adults. People need to work, and there's no time to select, because when you start selecting, you will find out that time is not on your side. By the time you get to something that you want to do, the time is gone and you can't even do it. I mean, look at how time flies. For example, look at this year, 2020. We are left with 4 months, literally 4 months of this year. What have you done? Nothing. So a person needs to work and a person needs to plan. We need to plan as soon as possible so that you can create a better future for yourself, for your children, and even for the people that look after you, like the parents or the guardian. So a person must work.
I think for me, this would be short. If I can say anything that is relevant. My dad was a military man, and unfortunately, he died when I was still 11. Yeah, I was 11. But he was a man with a plan, and his plan was so clear. When I was grade 4, he made me write an essay about the difference between a toad and a frog. Grade 5, I knew the different species of cobras in Africa. I knew the plan was go to school. Go to school. He hit that head so hard that I have to go to school. I don't like math. I have to do math. You understand? The vision was clear. Your way out is school. And of course, it's not going to be the same in our generation and generations to come. In our generation, we have a different modus operandi, and we have to look around market, social media. I want to teach my kids to market. More innovation, and people are going to be in the blank. There's going to be more consultancy. You have to have a vision that you share with people around you and hammer it in their heads. It can work for them for the next 20 years. It might not work for the third generation after me, but it is my responsibility right now, entrepreneurship, guys, entrepreneurship, until it fades. It then becomes someone else's responsibility after me to go and chart the next course. So for me, just as a parting shot, share the vision with the family so that whatever they contribute has to come from a position of clarity and understanding. People must have perspective and understanding, a clear understanding of reality. That way, anyone can come. I've seen people say, don't have pastor's money. There's certain men of God who just come clipping that you feel like you need to pocket. So it all comes to families. If your plan is clear, anyone can contribute to the benefit of that family.
Okay. Lennon, your parting shot?
Okay, thank you. I would like to say, as much as we want to plan our future, and also we need to incorporate, like what Paul said, we need to incorporate with our parents as well. They need to know what you are doing, and they need to know where you are going and where we are going as a family, so that they don't come in and tell you that because you're an accountant, because you are a scientist, you need to give this. They need to know that, one, you are a family man, or you've got things that you are planning. Because the other thing that also contributes to this black text is because we don't we are not clear with our families, we are our parents, what we are doing, and where we are going, or how much money we are getting. Because you need to show them, guys, this is what we're doing. As much as I want to contribute to black text or whatever you call it, I've got also this to do, and I've got responsibilities. So they need to know your vision. They need to know where you are. They need to know what you are doing, so that we don't have this problem anymore.
Okay, guys, it has been a great pleasure. It has been really a great pleasure being with you on the platform. And for our viewers that see us every Saturday, next week Saturday, we're going to be live again. Make sure you tune in. And guys, I really thank you for coming to the platform to share your views and experience. I think you have helped someone and someone have learned from us. It has been a great pleasure. And see you next week.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.